And hello and welcome. My name is Martin, and today what we're going to be doing is we're going to be creating a underwater quote unquote level. The last thing that we can do to our landscape would really be to kind of sell off the idea of there being like an ocean or something right here. Would be to go ahead and do two things. So we're going to create a plane that's going to go all the way across this area, and we're going to put a water material on there, and that's going to sell the idea of like a water surface. And then the other thing that we're going to do is use what's called a post-processing volume. So if you're in your place actor and you open up that screen and you go into volumes and you scroll almost all the way down, you'll see one there that's called post-processing volume. So we're going to add that to our area. We're going to create a custom shape using the modes, and we're going to again use the brush editing tool to create a very specific area, and then we'll look at what the post-processing volume does for us in making it look like an underwater level. So I think we're going to break this down into two sections. The first section will be creating the water and the underwater post-processing volume, and then the second half will be making, and just like we did with the foliage up here, there's different ways to make this look more realistic when the character goes into it. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing that we obviously need to do is create a surface to this. So let's go ahead and do that. Now, there's some people that would like to do it as a basic, and then use a plane for that. Now, the only problem with that is remember that the plane doesn't have, you can see right through the bottom side of it. It only has material on one side. So I don't like to use that. What I will do is use a geometry, grab a box, put that out onto the floor, and then we'll flatten that box into an area that's large enough to be able to fill everything that is meant to be water. So let's go ahead and make the thickness between the top and the bottom like 10, so that it's very thin. It's a very thin object. And then we'll go ahead and just start spreading this out. So I'm in the several thousands, tens of thousands, and then I'll open it up the other direction. Okay. Now, doing something like this will definitely fill in the space. The problem is this is incredibly wasteful. And then the other problem is, for example, we have an area that if we break this down, we have an underwater level that has like tunnels or something. And that tunnel system may not necessarily, you don't want to make it look like your character is going through an underwater level at that point. So what we're going to do is we're going to customize this area. But I'm going to do it by finding the area where this is going to be the thickest in. So for me, really the area is going to start over here. So let me drag this area to this point, and let me drag that down a little bit. And I just want to level this up with essentially where the water surface is going to be, right? So we'll have this little area strip of land. We see that there's actually an extension that goes this way. So at that point, I don't know, do I actually want it to go that far in? Let's see. Let's push it all the way back. And obviously you want to check the whole level to make sure that you don't get this thing, right? So let's go ahead and push it back a little bit more. And this way I'm hiding the edge there. And now I can look at it and go, okay, that's covering that area. That's covering that area. I do have a little bit of waste back here on the back side, so I can fix that up later. But now that we have at least like a good starting point for this, and let me pull this all the way forward until we get to a situation like where those tunnels are. So let me figure out where the tunnel ends. Oh. Oh, okay, there it is. Oops. All right, so it's about even with the house. So I know that I could probably pull and stretch this over all the way till about the house. So let me go ahead and do that. Now I'm not going to do it with the scale right. We're going to continue to do this with the brush setting tools. And this is on the y-axis, so let me go ahead and pull that. And remember that it's pulling it evenly on both sides, so go ahead and readjust that. And now we see that the edge has gotten that far. Go a little bit more. pull the edge back. See over here where we can see the edge. Then I'm going to pull that back. And we're getting closer and closer to where the house is. Maybe if I sort of round this off, where are we at? 55 something. And that's 1, 2, 3 decimal points afterwards. So let's go 5,600. Okay. That gives me a nice round number. I'll pull it back this way. Okay, so now I can sort of inch it. So 5,600, let's go 60. All right, so again, it's lining up with the edge there. It's disappearing just behind it. And here I am close to where the house is. Now, obviously, I have a lot of extra stuff going over here on this side, and we may or may not need it. It looks like it's going to cover that area, and that'll be fine. Okay, so now the big thing is that if I continue to stretch this all the way over, obviously I'm going to at some point make contact with that level that's right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to give this thing just a little bit of girth. Let's go. Okay, that way I can stretch down on it. And I'm going to bring it up just so that I can see exactly where I'm working at. Okay. So basically what I want to do is I want to go and I want to create the illusion that this is going to bend. So what I actually need to do is, and let's actually make this just a little bit thicker. Let's go to about 200. Okay, that's enough for me to be able to grab onto an edge. All right. So I know we just did a whole bunch of this, like trying to figure out how wide and how long this thing is. Let's go ahead and give this a number. This is about 26,000. So let's go 26. Okay, so roughly we have about the same shape, but we have our numbers now, right? So what I essentially want to do is I want to go into modes. I want to go into brush editing. So now I can sit there and I can actually go into this object right here that's called extrude. It's not available to us right now because we don't have anything selected. So we can't extrude anything if we don't have anything selected. But what I want to do is I want to create a distance that's only this big and then pull out this way. So then that way I can cover this area and then pull the shape back this way where I know the tunnel system is not going to be. So we're again making a custom shape, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this X value down to probably about, let's say 5,000. Okay, so we have a thin strip. I'm going to pull that back to this area. On that edge that I made just a little bit bigger, I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And you'll see that the golden area is the area that I'm actually going to pull and extrude. And notice that when I have that selected, extrude now becomes an option. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that. And I'm going to go ahead and extrude this out past the point that I know that the tunnel system is going to be at. Now I probably want to do that in one move because if I extrude again, I'm going to get another pass at this. So let me go ahead and do undo because I backed up a little bit. So I have that section still selected. I'm going to grab it and pull it all the way out, let's say this way. All right. So now if I grab this area and pull it down, oh, I think I'm still extruding. I don't want to extrude. If I jump out of select mode and then bring this down, I can then verify that it is indeed going to cover up this area that I need. And from this point forward, I'm going to make this side longer after I extrude it again. And then we'll be able to pull that side back out, right? So let me go and grab this up one more time. So we have it up in the air and we can see where we are. We're going to go back into modes. We're going to go back into landscape. I'm sorry, brush editing. That's going to allow us to be able to select the edge off of the new side. And yeah, brush editing. There we go. There it is. Okay, so extrude again. Pull it out one more time. And this time what I want to do is make sure that I pull it out far enough that I cover up the rest of this area back here. And so I'll have to be out far back enough to be able to see that. So I'm going to do undo real quick. And since my camera is now backed up far enough, we can now cover that area. Then I'm going to grab this side right here, and I'm going to extrude that this way, so to make sure that we have that area covered. Okay, so now we can come back over to this side and do the same thing. So we're going to grab that, zoom out, pull it over that area. Now the other thing we could also do is grab an area like this, and instead of pulling it out, we should be able to push it in. Or once it's been created, maybe what we can do is grab that section and delete it. Or maybe I should have done that with some type of modifier key. Let me undo. And there's probably going to be a whole bunch of undo select surfaces. And this is the only thing with undo is you want to be careful. Okay, there it is. So one more. There we are. So maybe using, let's say, a modifier. Nope. That didn't make a negative section. So let's undo that. Nope, it appears that you really can't do any type of removing of sections unless we were then allowed to be able to go back in and actually select individual planes and then hit delete on them. Let's see if we can do that. So I can do that. Okay. Let's just try to keep it simple. For the most part, just try to measure it out as you start. So measure twice, cut once. So I'm just going to keep undoing this until I get rid of... There it is. All right, and I'm back to where I was. Either way, we've made a custom shape. And now we can go ahead and push this into the landscape. Get that. Oh, we're still. Don't want to do that while you're in edit. So let's go back to select where we can grab the whole object. And let's grab this now and push it down into the level. And we now have a custom made area that, well, we should have probably have made that a little bit longer. A custom made area that we can then add the water element to, and we probably need to push it down just a little bit further here because we're not seeing the landmass back there. There we go. Okay. All right, so once we have this, what we obviously need to do is look for a water material. So you can filter materials and then go in there and type water. So I'm going to go materials. We'll type in water. There is also sometimes where the word ocean might be used. So let's see if we have one that gives us ocean. And so you see there that we do have Some materials like this one that's called, well, that one I guess would have been pulled up both ways because it had the word water and the word ocean. But see, one like this one where it says plain ocean, that would have not, and this one would not have been. So let's go ahead and let's see what that does for us. It is a wide, big area, so we'll just give it a moment for the material to, there it is. And let's go down and see what that looks like. Okay, so very cool. So this material actually has some movement to it, meaning that the material itself looks like water. So if we go down and then look up, we will see that we are not getting the same effect because there is no material placed on the opposite side. So let's go ahead and do the same thing. And so now we get a little bit of translucence through the water, and we get something that looks like maybe what the water surface might look like if you were looking up. Now in this case, I don't like it that much. Maybe a little bit. You get to see some of the reflection, and actually that's the reflection of this up, so you're actually not seeing through the water. This is not an opaque water level or material. So let's see if we can find something that has a little bit more translucence. So let's grab this one, and we'll give the material a second to build in. And essentially what we're looking for is one that when placed looks like we can see through the water surface, because a lot of the time when you're in the water and you look up, you can see everything, whereas if you're above the water and you look down because of the direction of light, you don't get the same type of an effect. So we're going to try different materials until we find one that gives us the correct effect that we're looking for as far as having a translucent. Now, I'm probably looking in the wrong materials. Let me go to water. Ooh, that one's pretty, but again, probably not what I'm looking for. So let me find one that has like a translucent water. Let's grab this one, drop it up there. So I'm almost sort of looking for ones that, yeah, see how that one has almost like, obviously we would have to go through and maybe correct this, because right now it's on the 1:1. So let's put this on an 8:8, and we're still getting a little bit of that overlapping. So let's go 16:16. That's a little bit better. We're still seeing a little bit of that. Let's try a different material. So again, I'm looking for something that's translucent. Allows me to be able to see up past the water. There we go. So that's actually kind of nice. There's a little bit of a surface tension and some movement that's in that particular material. It is, for the most part, fairly translucent. I can see the mountain ranges and what's above my head. And then when we're on the other side of it, we're seeing what would be the light traveling through water. It's not necessarily a translucent material, but it works well for, you know, a situation where you don't want people to, and you know, it depends on the type of water. Some water would be translucent. It just depends on what you want to go with. But I like this combination of being able to look up and see something translucent, and then look down and see something that looks more or less like water. Now, if you want to make this area accessible to your characters, obviously this is very rounded and you'll need something that's a little bit more flat. So let's go back into modes. Let's go back into landscape. Let's go into sculpt, and let's grab the sculpt tool, and let's make this just a little bit bigger. And not the strength, but the size. Strength may be very strong on that. Let me bring that down. So what I'm trying to do is create more or less like a beach area. the strength is nowhere, so nothing's happening. There we go. Too much. Maybe we can do a little bit of smoothing. There we go. So we have something that doesn't just go straight up like that. Your character wouldn't be able to walk out. So if you do have it to where they can, and then also look at that, that's a pretty high order for them to be able to get out of the water. So let's go ahead and maybe smooth some of the rest of this out. So flatten. And maybe here would be a good idea to, a good place to put, let's say, a ramp. So let's put a ramp, and let's start the ramp down here somewhere on the bottom floor, and put the ramp up here on the land, and let's go ahead and add ramp. Okay, and now they have the ability to be able to, if your character was walking around down on the bottom floor, they would have something that would very gently get them up on land, and then would allow them to be able to explore the area around without necessarily having something like this. Okay, all right, so the video is already starting to get a little bit long. So in this video, what we did was we created a custom shape for our water surface. We applied a water material to that surface. It looks like it only applies per deal. So let's go ahead and add this to the rest of it because each surface I assume now is independent. So let's go back to select. That'll allow us to be able to select each one of these. Let's figure out where that material is. There's the material. We'll find it again. And then we can go ahead and apply that. Now at this point, I'm curious to see if there is there does seem to be a little bit of a line difference there when you're extruding because it looks like it's pulling in from a different direction. Let's see if we can maybe rotate that. Let's have one side selected. There we go. So now it looks like they're moving in the same direction. Those looked fine. That actually doesn't look that bad. So I guess what I would do is I would start on one end, right? Find this one and find where the first one connects, where that first change is. I guess that would be between these two. And see, I'm looking at like where the waves are matching, and they seem to be matching okay. So really the only mismatch was the one back here. And it also looks like we might need to push that down just a little bit. So let's go back to modes. Let's go back to landscape. And here, let's go back to sculpt. Let's go back to this. And let's just push that down a little bit. Okay. And then we have it going all the way to the edge. And maybe what I'll do is I'll make this look like a cave entrance or something. And that'll explain where the water is going. Like it's going somewhere. And that is probably because of the strength. Okay, at that point we'd go back and repaint that. And there we go. Or we could have that as a waterfall. We could add a material there, make it look like a waterfall, and the water's coming in from there, but we can't go up because we can't, for whatever reason, the character can't run up the side of the wall. And then it's just some repainting, adding some ramps to make sure that your character can actually go up. And there we go. Okay, so in the next video, what we'll do is we'll look at the post-processing volume, add the post-processing volume to the water level, and then make it look like your character once you dunk into, because right now when you go down into it, you look up and it doesn't look like you're underwater. It still looks like this same coloring scheme. And as we know, when you go underwater, the water itself filters light slightly differently, and so that's the effect that we need to generate. Okay, so hope you guys enjoyed the video and have a wonderful day. Bye bye.